And the life issue is something we're going to spend a good deal of time talking today to our good friend Bob Vanderplatz about. Good to see you for the first time in 2026, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
And to give you guys a little bit of kudos, I told a few guys yesterday at Carver Hawkeye Arena at the University of Iowa.
Oh, you were there for the basketball game?
I was there for the basketball game with our youngest son. And youngest son met up with a couple of friends, and Bryn and Colin and Matt. And so I had a good chance to visit with Bryn, Colin, and Matt. Matt said, hey, I feel like I'm with you all the time because I watch you on the Steve Day Show.
Oh.
And so it's fun because that generation,
we found the few people that still actually pay attention to this.
You're talking middle 20s, but big fans.
Well, good.
Huge fans. And so hi to Matt and by extension, Colin, Bryn, and Logan.
Hey, to quote the great prophet Whitney Houston, I believe the children are our future.
Oh,
and those children must be taking the Cutter money too, right?
Yes.
I don't think they're taking any Cutter money.
Yes.
But we are. That's what we're told.
Yes. I am a Zionist cuck taking Cutter money. That also is a paid grifter of Con Inc. I get called those three things every day.
But I know they're not. Okay,
Yes.
so I just want to make sure we draw that distinction.
All right, let's get into the life issue because the president gave, for the most part, a fairly hilarious presentation at the House retreat last week, including just a complete and total demolition of the whole women and or men and women sports thing. All right,
And Melania likes to see me dance.
Yeah. But then in the middle of that, all right, classic negotiation tactic.
Sure.
All right, I've got everybody's attention, everybody's laughing and everything, and if I got a poison pill, I got to drop it right there. Right?
And he did.
He did.
All
right. But that thing went over like a fart in church.
Yeah.
It got a lot of people's attention across the country, and it had to do with negotiating on the Hyde Amendment. Now, I'm just going to reset this, and then I'm going to hand it off to you. Okay? Just for people to understand, particularly if you're younger, like the young men you just talked about, who aren't kids. Just you and I are old now, so they are kids too.
And one young lady.
Gender
matters here.
Yeah, indeed, it does. And she's made in likeness and image of God too.
Amen.
Yes. All right. So there are two lasting victories of the pro-life movement. All right. The overturning of Roe, the most obvious one, which of course doesn't happen without Donald Trump.
Exactly.
So I do think you need to consider if you're
and
one
he
of the,
will remind you of that.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, he will. I do think those of us complaining about this, and I'm one of them, need to remember, though, that he appointed the judges that overturned Roe, and that's more than any of us have done for the issue. I think we need to remember that. That doesn't mean he gets papal infallibility on the issue.
It's a major spike in the end zone.
But it's a major spike in the end zone,
Yep.
right? It's a recognition that is perpetual and must always be recognized. The second is the Hyde Amendment, which comes out of the 80s for Congressman Henry Hyde of Illinois, who was considered kind of in the first era of pro-life activism, kind of the premier pro-life member of Congress in the original post-Roe generation.
Which is the Illinois I'd like to remember.
Yes, and it stopped taxpayer funding to go to abortion. Now, this thing got fought over immensely over Obamacare, and this was one of the things that the Hobby Lobby and Liberty University and a bunch of people sued. The Obama administration was trying to get around the Hyde Amendment and force them as religious organizations to spend their money or be on taxpayer-funded abortion via Obamacare, right? And they won those cases at the Supreme Court, right? All right, and so Trump's signaling that we may have to, on our side, we may have to negotiate on this. And that went over like a fart in church. So I'll let you take it from there.
Well, first of all, I want to talk about the Hobby Lobby case. This is the Green family, and a lot of you guys will know the Green family. They've been very supportive of a lot of conservative causes, a very Christian family. And this definitely went against their moral, went against their ethos in regards to that we're going to fund, the killing of babies. And so they took to the Supreme Court. If you go into the Hobby Lobby headquarters today to meet with one of the executives, you will see the entire family with snow falling down, walking out of the Supreme Court, defending the sanctity of human life. And so when Trump made this deal about a negotiation, we need to be at least open. We can't be so committed one way or the other. We have to be able to use this as a negotiation. First of all, was I disheartened by that? I was. However, I was very encouraged by the response. The response overwhelmingly was, heck no, no way. And the thing of it is, and this is what President Trump understands better than anything, the taxpayer funding of abortion is not a winning issue for Democrats. This is one of those 70% issues where people don't want your tax dollars going to fund abortions. So why not land on your convictions when it's politically correct as well? Don't negotiate on this thing. And so, Steve, right away I got alerted by SBA Pro-Life, our friends there, Marjorie Danielsfelser, are saying, hey, we need voices out on this. And, of course, the voice that they're going to listen to me in regards to on a federal issue like this is going to be, let's play Politics 101, and this is something I read out of your book, Steve. Don't abandon your base.
Unless they're morally wrong.
Yeah, unless they're
But in this
time
case,
they're morally right.
We're not. Yeah.
And so if you want to run for president in 2028, and believe me, everybody's got this vision of I will be president one day. I will be the successor to President Donald Trump. If you want to be president, this is a non-starter, especially in the Iowa caucuses. This will just not only blunt your campaign, this will decimate your campaign. And so I thought, let's draw out the political realities of it, but also just the common sense nature of it. My neighbors, who may be Republican, Democrat, whatever it is, I don't think any one of them says, hey, let me give money to kill babies. They may be like, hey, it's Amy's choice, but not like, I want to fund Amy's choice, so to speak. So I think politically they're wrong, morally they're wrong, and so therefore I think, and there's a group of us getting together tonight, national leaders on a conference call, and there's going to be literally hundreds to thousands on the conference call talking about this very issue.
Well, listen, we have, it's no secret, and this has been going on even before Trump got reelected. This happened throughout 2022. This happened throughout 2023. This happened throughout 2024. It happened throughout 2025. Okay.
Yeah.
We got collectively slobber-knocked and mollywopped in special elections.
Yeah.
All right. Off-cycle elections, which are indicative of two things. Number one, there is, and often in places where we control the election machinery. Okay. So we're not talking about places where, they're boarding up windows in Philadelphia in 2020 and, conjuring votes.
Yep.
We're talking in a lot of red areas, they are dramatically overperforming their demographics. So that, one, it tells you that they have a permanent organizational presence in place on their side that we don't have. Charlie was beginning to build that. In fact, he was one of the key instruments in Trump's get out the vote effort in 2024 when Trump just bypassed the Republican Party and outsourced it. But then, of course, they murdered him, So, we really don't have an on-the-ground apparatus to compete with them on a race-by-race, off-year election basis across the country.
Our on-the-ground apparatus, I only counter, Charlie and I talked about this. The on-the-ground apparatus, when motivated and mobilized and inspired, is still the local church.
That brings me to the second point, okay? Our base is completely and totally uninspired and demotivated.
Yeah.
They won't vote unless Trump is on the ballot. They view him as essentially the only hope they have collectively in the Republican Party. We were able to say for a couple of years there that if you had a dynamic governor like we've been blessed to have in Iowa, or like they still have in Florida too, that could overcome that. But now you're starting to see Iowa and Florida special elections fall by the wayside too. So even you're starting to see erosion now in the DeSantis and Kim Reynolds kind of walls. And we don't have many governors like that on our side, period, around the country, which means they're able to penetrate our defenses pretty much anywhere they want in these low turnout elections. We don't need to be giving our base less reason to vote right now. I mean, there's three people that we need to make sure are completely inspired and motivated to at least get a stalemate in these midterms so that they don't take over the House and begin impeachment palooza. There's three kinds of voters. The Maha voter, I think we're in good shape with them right now. You tell me, Todd, but I get the sense overall after
there was some concern
the first 6 months. Yeah, but right now, I would say you're of the three groups the one that's the most satisfied right now.
Agreed.
All right. The second group we've completely lost, and we have to get them back. And that is that Theo Von, Joe Rogan voter who thinks the whole system is corrupt. They're not really ideological, but they're patriotic. They don't really want to be, they're not, necessarily Christian, but they don't want to be a bunch of wimps, and be ashamed of being born with male parts and masculinity. And they kind of thought that because they shot Trump in the face, that Trump might be the kind of guy to finally drain the swamp and give him some answers to how corrupt the system is than they've ever gotten before. And they're not getting those answers. I mean, I put Musk in this camp too. And Musk is out there liking tweets from me, pointing out no one's getting arrested. Okay. Yep. All right. So that group is off the reservation right now. Musk is saying he's going to get back in, but those podcasters that helped Trump win in 24, They're all off the reservation right now. We got to get them back.
Give me one good reason to stay here.
Yeah,
That's what they're saying.
The third group is the traditional conservative base that you're talking about, largely, not exclusively, but largely evangelical and almost completely and comprehensively pro-life. Okay. The last thing we need to do is say to those people, let us give you one more reason not to vote for us this fall. I think that's just a terrible decision.
You know, Steve, back in, I think it was the 2012 campaign, we did a tour around the state with presidential candidates, and we called them the Presidential Lecture Series. And I was in a private plane with Ron Paul, who was running for president at that time. And Ron Paul, who was a OBGYN doctor, he said to me, he said, Bob, listen, if I know where somebody stands on the sanctity of human life, typically if they're right on life, they'll be right on every other issue. Mm-hmm. If they're wrong on life, they're going to be wrong on about every other issue. And so therefore it becomes a very core issue, especially for the evangelical base. If you decimate the evangelical base on top of what Steve just talked about with the Joe Rogan and those type of ideologues type deal, and then the Maha does not have Trump on the ballot. So even though they might not be as far gone as we thought they were, they still want Trump on the ballot. Trump's not going to be on the ballot. It just decimates us in the midterm elections. And Steve, the elections that you talked about in 2022, Iowa and Florida, in the midst of a blue wave, were the only two, or red wave, those were the only two who show we went solidly red. Mm-hmm. Why? You had a pro-life governor in Florida and a pro-life governor in Iowa, and they're both willing to talk about it. Otherwise, we never experienced the red wave. Now they're talking about a blue wave in 2026. What is going to be our stopgap? And I happen to believe it's still going to be the evangelical church that's going to be your stopgap, but not if you cave on the life issue.
Well, let's bring this close to home, because we're sitting here in Iowa's 3rd congressional district. It's the most swingy district in our state, right? Okay. And we've had a Republican congressman here running for a 3rd term, I believe, or is it 4th?
It's 3rd.
3rd, for Zach Nunn. He has won 2 by the hair of his chinny chin chin, or his reelect by the thinnest of margins, right?
Yep.
And he was one of their top targets in 24, but he survived. Okay, so he's facing this dilemma right now, where I'm trying to hold back, the energy on the other side, and it's all against me, right? And maybe if I can hold that back, my base will kind of ignore if I do something they don't like on this one, because they'll have to vote for me later, right? So he's one of the, was it 16 or 17?
Yeah, 17.
On Thursday, that voted for taxpayer-funded abortion. Our own congressman did.
And what I don't understand, and Zach, I personally like him. Matter of fact, I was hoping he'd run for governor at one point. Like, I hope he'd run for governor in this cycle, because I just thought he'd be the type of candidate, military background, that would probably be able to win the governorship back, or keep it in our hands with the governorship. But remember, Steve, in 2024, the commercial that ran nonstop was in a primary debate that he had with his other candidates. And they said, who'd be for life at conception? Or there's a very solid pro-life issue there. And they showed Zach Nunn raising his hand. Mm-hmm. And they ran it over and over and over again. And he won it. So now in a re-elect for 2026, you cave on the issue? They already have that footage, and you won. Why would you cave on the issue now? Because I just think what they're going to do is throw you under the bus saying, listen, if he'll cave on life, he'll cave on everything else. He'll demoralize our base. And now you have a chance that 3rd district does not stay in the hands because of that decision. It was a very, very poor decision on his part.
So I've got about a minute here. I mean, you're going to be one of the organizations he's going to rely on.
Sure.
To turn his base out. What do you say to your own base? Hey, well, when your own people come to you and say, wait a minute, didn't this guy vote for taxpayer-funded abortion?
Well, Steve, several months ago, matter of fact, back in the fall, I went to a thing that Marjorie Dansfelser of SBA asked me to come and speak to door knockers who came in from all over the country to saturate the 3rd district to get ahead of the campaign and why you want to vote for Zach Nunn. And it was on the sanctity of human life issue. Marjorie Dansfelser, I know, tweeted at him, texted to him, gave him a call and said, my guess is you want us to pull out. Well, if you have SBA and groups like ours that say, start pulling out, saying, listen, we're not taking a position in the race. We may vote in it, but we're not going to actually put skin in the game in it. That's how you lose. You abandon your base, you demoralize your base. That's how you lose. And what we're trying to do is make sure that our governor candidates, our congressional candidates, our state house candidates, they understand, stand firm on this issue, especially something that's as simple as taxpayer funding of abortion.
Todd and Aaron, got about 90 seconds. You guys have any thoughts on that?
I'm just concerned. I don't know him. I've never met him. But if you lost because of this, wouldn't you sleep well at night? I know I would.
Oh,
That's
if there's ever something to lose over,
Yes.
standing on the same
This would be the
team in
one.
life,
So
you bet.
what I don't know how many variables he's judging thinking through this. There's really not as many variables as you think, Zach.
But this is one where Steve talked about earlier on. Morally, we're right on this issue. Politically,
yeah,
we're
there's
right
there's
on
literally
this.
not a voter to be
what I'm-
gained.
So
Cannot possibly
I don't
happen.
get it. I mean, that's one of these I just don't get.
There is no voter that exists in this or any other district. The person does not exist in any critical mass that turns elections whatsoever. That was, you were too pro-life for me before, but since you voted for taxpayer-funded abortion, I'm going to overlook all of that. No, that person is already working to get you out of office to begin with, so there's just a loss leader here. There's nothing to be gained.
And frankly, it's that argument that surprised me that Trump decided, let's start negotiating on that issue. There's nothing to be gained there. Why negotiate on that issue? Stand firm on that issue, motivate your base, and let's win in 2026.
Good stuff, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you.